out, but she was wearing in her TBR video. That's because I am. If you're thinking, wow, she looks a little bit worse for wear, that's because I filmed that 12 hours ago and I've had a day. I have done 2 big walks with the dogs. I've done an Arnie Pump Club workout with Mike in the front yard, which kicked my butt. It's been about 12 hours since I filmed that. So I filmed that first thing this morning before I'd even had breakfast, and now it is post dinner. It is about 7:10 at night. The sun is setting, and I thought, if I don't film this August wrap up, I'm not sure it's going to happen in time. So I'm here to talk about the books that I read in August, and I had a pretty okay reading month. Before I forget, I've got to crack my glorious drink. Nectar of the Gods. Will I ever lose my Red Bull edition? Probably not. Am I sad about it? No. Do I wish they made one of these that didn't have caffeine in it? Yes, because I love the flavour. Anyway, I digress. August. I've got my notes in front of me, so if you see me looking down, that's why. Because I do get book amnesia and I forget stuff and I just need to check. So, I read 11 books this month. It is currently the 29th, so I have a few more days, and I actually think I might get through 2 more, but I'll just put them in next month's wrap up and talk about them there, because I also might not, because I've got a busy few days. But I read 11 books, only 1 5-star, which is actually probably pretty good. I'm lucky if I get 1 in a month. I could be on the way to a second one at the moment with something I'm reading, but 1 5-star read. So let me go through them in order. The first book I read this month was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which was Mike's pick for the Grimoire Club book club. I really enjoyed this. It was quite a short read. I actually listened to it while I was at the MotoGP at Silverstone. Fantastic, because I'd watch the races, and then when the race was over and I was waiting for the next one, I put my headphones in and I just sat there at the track and listened to this. And it was good because it was fast paced. So I gave this 4 stars on Goodreads. I actually felt like so many of the autistic traits in the book really resonated with me, particularly the counting of the coloured cars. So when he was determining whether or not he was having a good day or a bad day, he would count what the coloured cars were. I do that myself, not with cars, but I do, like, if I see a plane in the sky, or if I see a Highland cow, and at the moment it's like if I see a Ferrari on the road, I have these like weird things where I can like relax into like, oh, it's going to be a good day for me. So I loved this. I thought it was great. I thought it had great autism representation. It almost was a 5, but I just felt like there needed to be a little bit more depth. I needed more of a redemption from the parents. I needed both the mum and the dad to really show up more for their child than what they did. And I think that the reason we don't get that is because it is such a short story. It is phenomenal. I think it would make a great film and I would love to see it. It was good. It was a good solid read. Started the month off with a mystery. Fantastic. After this one, I actually read Spy, and I don't know if it's Spy Cross Family one or Spy X Family one, but it's a graphic novel, which I'm a little bit funny on rating graphic novels because I kind of just read them when I need something just to keep me going with my reading momentum. I'm not trying to read them for anything quality. However, this was a lot of fun. I rated it 3 stars. I do think as I will continue the series, and I think that as I get to know the characters more and I understand the world that they're in, I will connect with it a lot more. It was really fun. It's like an arranged marriage. We have a spy and we have an assassin. That's fantastic on its own. And then you add in this secret telepathic orphan fake daughter. Phenomenal. I actually can't wait to read the second one. It sounds so ridiculous, but it is so fun, and I've already got the next one loaded up on my Kindle ready to go. So when I find myself slipping into that reading rut, I'm going to pick up the next graphic novel. After this, I read 5 Brothers by Penelope Douglas. Now, I love Penelope Douglas. I know that she writes things that are not everybody's cup of tea, but I am along for the ride. So whenever she puts something out, I'm there. So this is romance. It's dark. This book started really strong. I was loving it in the beginning. It was easy. I was genuinely interested in each of the brothers. Like, I wanted to get to know their characters. They had so much depth and complexity, and then it just got really ridiculous, like really far-fetched. And I'm all about reading as escapism, but it still needs to feel just like a little bit like it could happen. I just need to be able to like pretend that I can put myself into that. I couldn't have done that. The mum and the dad were truly awful. Like, I'm sitting there reading and I'm thinking, please someone run them over? So, like, can this turn into a horror? Because they are irredeemable, they're horrible, they made my skin crawl, and then it's just kind of like, we just accept that that's how they are. No thank you. No. I did rate it a 4 on Goodreads because I did really enjoy the start. In reality, it's probably like a 3.75, but I've just rounded it up for ratings. So it was quite long. 520 pages. Penelope Douglas does tend to write quite long books. Would I recommend it to people? Yeah, it's fun, it's easy, but it's probably not something I'm going to remember in a year. To be fair, I don't remember much after I've read it anyway, so that's probably not an insult. The next book I read was 3 Ways to Mend a Broken Heart. This is such a great little series, romance, reverse harem, fun and easy. You've got your first book, and your first book's got characters connected to the second book, and your third book's got characters connected to both. So I already knew these characters. So I picked this up and I ate this up. It was smutty heaven, and I had so much fun pinning for this book. This is like my lollipop reads. I needed something quick, I needed something easy, I needed to just avoid being in a book slump. This did that for me. I feel like it's such a sexy fun read. It'd be the perfect book to read if you were going through a breakup and you thought, you know what, I'm getting back on that horse. The spice was real in this one. This was good. I enjoyed this. I did only rate it 3 stars. 3's not bad. I know every book girly says that. 3 is like, it's good. I enjoy it. If it's a 3, I enjoyed it, and I'm going to continue with the series if it's a series. I'm probably going to say to people like, yep, pick it up. A 3 is good and solid. I liked it. I do really like her writing style. One of my favorite things is that she writes her female main characters with no description. So you can visualize anybody you like, any ethnicity, any body type, everything and anything. It's completely up to your imagination, and I love that. I love determining what I think that female main character is going to look like. So super fun. I think the chapter titles are really fun. There are always some like innuendo that's linking into the chapter, so you're getting like a little sneak peek before you get there. And she writes banter so well. Like, I am usually giggling and I'm usually on my Kindle, so I'm like highlighting the bits that I think are hilarious so I can go back and read them later. Fantastic. Next, I read Twisted Lies. This was my sister swap read. So my sister Kayla, I'll link her booktube here. Gotta go check her out. This was my sister swap read, and she gave this to me because I had been avoiding reading the end of a series. I have such a weird thing with that, where I don't know if it's that I'm not ready to let go of characters, or it's like, I don't know. For someone who I pride myself on being a completionist in most things I do, I suck at reading the last book in a series. But I picked this up. I'm so happy to have finally finished the series. I absolutely love Christian and Stella. I think they're gorgeous. I think they faced really interesting conflict. One thing was, it was quite far-fetched at times. Again, it's that little bit where I'm like, oh, it's a little bit ridiculous, but it also was really fun, and I feel like I read it quite quickly. So for a book that's about 530 pages, I powered through it like it was a 300-page book. So I know that I already like Anna Huang's writing style. It's quick and it's easy. It's got good pacing, so I can just delve in. I love pinning for these books. Just a fun read. I rated it 4 stars, and it was a solid 4. Like, I really enjoyed it. I wish that they would make this whole series into like a TV show, and each season is a different one of the books. How good would that be? I don't know how they'd get through the smuttiness. I know that they do have a smutty network, but like, can we get one with a budget? Can we get the smutty network with the Netflix budget, please? I keep getting sidetracked because there is a giant rabbit just bounding outside my window right now. Next, I read The Hotel Nantucket. This has been on my TBR for so long. I always look at the cover and I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. Then I watched a video. Oh, I can't even remember who it was. I want to say it was Larry. One of the book girlies put up how much they loved the book, and it was a 5-star read for them. And I heard that and immediately went, I'm gonna start reading that next. I don't think I've ever read a book like this. It read like the White Lotus TV show. It read like there were so many characters. I was so confused at first. I had my phone out, I was writing notes in it because I was trying to keep track of like who was who and who was connected to who and how is it all related, because those first few, probably the first third of the book, I was really like, okay, I'm getting it, we're getting there. And then it started to feel like The White Lotus. It felt like every chapter I was getting like a little episode of a character, and it was fun and it was gritty and I cared about every single character. That hardly ever happens. The characters are so heavily intertwined, which I liked, and it dealt with humans in a way that's like, they're messy and they do stupid things and they make mistakes, and whilst you want to vilify people for this, it's real and it was raw, and we get the perspective of a ghost. Yes, like didn't think I would like that. I'm not into supernatural normally, but the way this was done, I was like, yes, this is great. Like such a random side plot. I think this would make the most incredible film. I really am interested in reading more of her books now. I rated this 4 stars. It actually would probably be about like a 4.25. Getting real into my decimals there. It's more than a 4, but it's not quite a 4.5, which would have bumped it to a 5. I don't know what it would have needed to do for me, because I sat with this for a few days trying to work out like, is it a 5 for me? Is it not a 5? Why isn't it a 5? Is it not a 5 because I know someone else rated it a 5, so I went in with too high expectations? I'm not sure, but it just wasn't quite there. I think one of the things that was also weird is the hotel owner. Tell me why I did not picture him as a 70-year-old man. Like, did I just read over the part where he was that old? Because I was thinking he was like in his 30s, and then we get to certain things that happen there and I was like, this is not matching, and then I realized he was 70, so it worked. But it was a good book. I tried to pin for it, got a little bit tricky because there wasn't actually a lot of description about what the characters looked like, and as much as I like sometimes for it to be up to my interpretation, sometimes I just want you to tell me. So it was good. Then I read The Tattooist of Auschwitz, which was a historical fiction. This was my pick for the Grimoire Club for the month, and I'm really disappointed in myself. I thought I was gonna love it. It's a Kiwi author, which I actually didn't know till afterwards. I really struggle with overhyped books. I think because I'd seen this on so many people's lists, I just thought I was gonna love it. I was so determined that it was going to be good. I think it felt rushed, and then given the source material, I feel like it should hit so much harder. But then I thought maybe that's the point. Maybe we have all these senseless deaths and you read them and you go, oh, okay, that's what's happening because that's how it was. So if that was the point, then it did it well. If that was not the point, then that's a bit scary. I just thought, how could I possibly care about all of these characters? Like, there's just so much going on. And then I thought it's also weird to write a concentration camp romance. Like, I actually didn't know until we got to the end of the book that it was a true story, which made it hit a little bit better, where I thought, okay, well, we can write this because it's real and it happened. But it just wasn't it for me. I was actually more interested in the side characters. I was more interested in Silke, the girl that was allowed to keep her hair and that was then sentenced to prison for working with the Nazis. Her story really, really intrigued me. I just wasn't into it. I even watched the trailer for the show to think like, oh, I love it when I've read a book and I can then go and watch the show, and I wasn't interested. So I gave this 3 stars. Again, 3 means it was okay. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking, gosh, was it a 2-star read? No, I felt like it was a 3 at the time. I'll leave it as a 3, but it was just okay. I've read much better historical fiction. I'm just gonna leave that one there. Sorry if you love it. Next, I read Wild Love. Why did it take me so long to pick this up? I am the girl that froths for a new release. I love a new shiny new release. As soon as it comes out, I'm on it. It has a pink cover. It's gonna be the prettiest book cover I've seen all year. I need to own this. I've sold my entire library because I've moved to England and no longer have a library, and I still need to own this book. It is gorgeous. Honestly, I think Rosie is me. She is the people pleaser who doesn't like to make any waves. She'll go above and beyond to smooth things over for everybody else, even at the detriment of herself. And then she's giving him unhinged pages from her diary. What a queen. What a queen. I adored her. She was so fun. Rosie Belmont. And then we have Ford, and he is just a simp, and I love it. I love it when the man's a simp. I'm here for it, especially when she's got that like energy. Then I got to the end of the book and I don't even know how I missed the fact that He is Willa's brother. What planet was I on? How did I not know this before going into the book? I love Willa. Willa is like probably one of my favorite female characters ever in a romance series. Like, put me in Chestnut Springs, I'll live there forever. This book was perfection, and I'm so excited for the next one to come out because all of the tropes, what it is, excited. Put me in any Elsie Silver universe and I will thrive. So this book is a solid 4 stars. It's sitting around a 4.25. It's great, it's fun, it's flirty, I laughed. I just don't know why I didn't pick it up sooner. I got it on my Kindle the day it came out, and then I really just went, let me read books that are not even on the level. We know Elsie Silver's a queen. I need to remember this for next time. The next book I read this month was Dawn of Flames. So this was the final book in the trilogy. It is a reverse harem fantasy with dragons. Why not? The first book was so strong. I honestly think I almost rated the first book 5 stars because it was so fun. I couldn't put it down. I read it in one sitting. I was texting my sister and saying, you need to read this book. Like, it's outrageous in all of the best ways. It's a smutty little speed read. And I really felt intrigued by each of the characters. I thought they were really unique. Like, in a reverse harem, we tend to get quite a lot of the same tropes. You get your golden retriever boy, you get your broody, mysterious one, you get the one who doesn't really want her. And although we did have that, it just felt like a little bit more gritty in that first book. But I'm really glad to be done with this series. And I'm really sad to say that. I didn't love the second book. I felt like I read the third one because I wanted the story to be wrapped up, and there were just so many different villains, and I felt like we never got a break from it. We never got to sit with our characters being happy or just be satisfied with where they were at. We just didn't get long in the happy, and some of the relationships felt so skimmed over because they only really came together at the end, and I was disappointed with that. I wanted more time. Sorry if you can hear a dog. He's got a cone on his head right now and he's not happy. So Dawn of Flames is 3 stars. It wasn't bad. I still read it and enjoyed it, but I kind of just wish I finished it off after book 1 and just like made up my own ending. I don't know. The next book I read was The Anthropocene Reviewed, which this is a non-fiction book by John Green. I loved this. So from Staffin Fictions to Dr. Pepper, this book rates the mundane and the ordinary to the extraordinary. It goes into the anthropology of each subject. It looks at the science, the history, the human stories, the oddball facts, and it dissects and analyzes each of them before giving it a final rating. Now, this is fun because we obviously rate everything nowadays. We rate restaurants we go to, we rate the books we read, we rate movies, some people rate national parks. If it's there, you can rate it. I rate Red Bull a 5 out of 5. So tell me why, when this man is talking about sunsets and he gives sunsets a 5 out of 5, did my eyes well with tears? Mike and I actually listened to this in a car and we did it over multiple trips. And there was a part where I was sobbing. This book hit me in my feels. It's non-fiction. It was great. I really, really enjoyed it. We quite often would pause after listening to one of the reviews and we would share our own ratings on the topic and talk about our own personal stories and connections. It was such a great book to listen to together. Some of my favorites were the hot dog eating contest, Googling strangers. That one had me crying when I was trying to eat my lunch. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it, but my goodness. The second half, unfortunately, wasn't nearly as good as the first half. The first half was so strong that I was adamant it was going to be a 5-star read. Like, I was saying to Mike, this is 5, nothing can happen to not make it 5. Then when we listened to the second half of the book, it just didn't hit as hard. It wasn't as punchy. They fell a little bit flatter, but it's a solid 4. I would say it's a 4.5, realistically. Really good. What a fun concept for a book. It had me thinking, like, what little mini essays could I write where I can rate things of the mundane in my life, but bringing in the geography or the history or the scientific facts. Like, I do a lot of traveling now, and so I was thinking, how can I bring that into where I rate these locations, but I do it from a different viewpoint than just the obvious. Fantastic. I absolutely love it. It makes me want to listen to him and his brother's podcast. And then the last book that I have read this month was Not Another Love Song. You might be thinking, Cass, you said you had a 5-star read. This is it. This is the one. Julie Soto. I give you all of the accolades. I will give you all of my dollars every time you release a book. I will read your entire back catalogue. I know it's not much, but I'm going to do it. This captured me immediately. Gwen, again, is me as a character. She doesn't want to let anyone down. She's a people pleaser. We're sensing a theme here. A people pleaser to a fault. But then you have Xander, who is so much the opposite of her. Like, he comes across like this cold and uncaring prodigy, which we know he's not, but he feels so deeply, and their connection is really believable. It's not insta-lovey, it's just gritty, and I liked it. You have all these dynamics of these characters with all the other important people or not so important people in their life, and how they're navigating all of this like trauma together, and it was just really gripping. I love her writing style. I have to read everything else that she has written. The only thing is, like, people love the covers for these. I think that's what put me off. I did not pick these up to read because I just thought the covers were just like a little bit Now I know. Now I know that I shouldn't always judge a book by its cover. And then the 2 books that I'm halfway through at the moment are Drive by Kate Stewart, because I love the Ravenhood series, so that's been on my Audible for the longest time. It's one of the longest books that's been on there, so I wanted to listen to it. I've been reading it on my Kindle, and I'm hoping that tomorrow I'm just going to put my headphones in and listen to it, because I need to take this cone boy to the vet. So I'm going to try and listen to it on the way to the vet and then carry on after that. Might listen to it on my morning walk. I'm liking it so far. I like that each of the chapters has a song that represents it. So while I'm listening or while I'm reading it on my Kindle, I'm putting the song on and just getting the vibes for it, and that's quite a fun way to do it. And then the other book that I'm reading that I actually think I might finish tonight is Daydream by Hannah Grace. I love it. I mean, I've been wanting to read Henry's story. I thought Henry was going to be book 2, so I'm so excited that we're getting his story now. I welled up with tears at the start of the book where she talks about not giving Henry a diagnosis, and that while we think he likely has ADHD, autism and ADHD, she's not going to diagnose him, and she goes to outline why, and it made me feel really emotional. I think I feel quite deeply connected because I can see myself in both Hallie and in Henry. Being ADHD myself, and I mean, we're all on the spectrum to some point or the other, but when he talks about his being overstimulated but still trying to like show up for his friends even though it's really, really hard for him, and his social battery being drained, and like all of these things that he struggles with, her characters make me feel so seen. And I know not everybody loves Icebreaker, but Hannah Grace, I just feel like me and her would get on like a house on fire. Like, we could be friends because she puts parts of herself in each of her characters, and I feel like I'm all of these characters. So I'm absolutely loving it. I was sending my sister Snapchats today of me like giggling and little bits from the book, and I just have the biggest smile on my face. It's such a fun, happy read. So that's it for my August wrap up. I feel pretty good about what I've read. I always hope that I'm going to have more 5-star reads, but I guess that's what makes it special, that I don't have one all of the time. But next month, hopefully I can keep going on my good momentum with reading. And yeah, I'll see you later. Here's the view outside. Absolutely stunning. Peace out.